So hi everyone. So we can start the chanting straight away before the meditations and then the Dharma talk on the 6 perfections. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Soha. So now it's time for some meditation. Actually, I hope you've already practiced the meditation as well for yourself already today. And even just before the class, I encourage you to do that as you're waiting to be let in. Just like I mentioned, I think it was last week, just whatever a few minutes you may have to wait, just calm your mind, focus on your breathing. Fill yourself with loving kindness, extend it to others. So right now, get yourself comfortable, and then we will release whatever tension you may have in the body. We will release that as much as possible. So starting from the bottom of your body, from the tips of your toes up to your hips. If you find it hard to release some tension in your body, it's okay to manipulate your body, move it a little bit, or let it go on the out breath. So releasing that tension. And now bring the focus to release the tension from the upper part of your body, from your hips up to your shoulders and down to the ends of your fingers. And from all around your head as well, the back and the sides, your face, and the top of your head. Now scan your body again from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers and to the top of your head, just to see if there's any more leftover tension that you can release. And after you've done this, bring your focus to your breath. Breathing in your nose, follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe right into the lungs and then out again through your nose. As we engage in this anapanasati or breath meditation or mindfulness of the breath, if thoughts arise or any other mental activities or agitations, then don't cling to them, don't grasp at them, don't try to forcefully push them away or even deny them. By refocusing on the breath, let them come and go naturally. And if you find your mind becoming dull, once again, refocus on your breath, this time more brightly. This way, refocusing on the breath becomes the antidote for both the agitated mind, the overly busy mind, as well as the dull mind. So now let's practice like this for a few minutes in silence. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself for engaging in this virtuous practice. And feel yourself with so much loving kindness. Really appreciate yourself. This Mahametta, this great loving kindness that originates in your mind and fills your whole mind, your whole body. So much so now that it radiates outwards as well. It overflows initially to your loved ones, family and friends. Wishing that they be happy, free from suffering, and be at peace. And gradually radiate further and further, now to also include those you may regard as strangers. Maybe you know them a little or not at all. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be at peace. Also now include those you may regard as enemies, those people that you find very difficult or irritating. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be at peace. Now gradually gathering momentum, radiate this loving kindness out further and further to now include all of the living beings around your immediate area. Those living beings that are born from wombs, from eggs, through moisture or by moisture and through transformation. Those living beings that live in the waters, on the land, fly through the air. Further and further now to include all of those living beings within your state or your county. May happiness and peace pervade everywhere and all of the living beings. May they be happy, free from suffering, and be at peace. Through other states and counties now, until this loving kindness pervades your whole country. And other countries, initially those you're familiar with, as well as those you're not so familiar with, and those also that you maybe don't know at all, or even have an aversion for whatever reason towards. Throughout the whole world, have your loving kindness pervade. And other worlds throughout the whole solar system. And other solar systems throughout the whole galaxy. And other galaxies throughout the whole universe. Until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. Immeasurable loving kindness. And at the same time, be present here and now, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So I hope that you've all practiced well, a little bit of study, Dharma study, and good practice throughout the past week since we saw each other last. And that you are closer to perfecting these perfections. perfecting the transcendental perfections that have no limit, actually. At the moment, of course, we're limited, but that's okay. Just like I say the words, be present here and now before we recite the dedication prayer at the end of the meditations. That's what we need to do with ourselves now. We're at the stage we're at right now. So even if you've been practicing Buddhism a really long time, or even many lifetimes, actually the starting point is right here, right now. Whether you're already at the Bodhisattva levels, you still have to practice starting now. Or if we're a beginner, totally, didn't really have much concern with Buddhism before, maybe a little bit of a seed. And that's the reason why we have it, or have the opportunity to practice right now. Then that's the starting point. So you could say we all have different starting points, but actually the starting point is the starting point. So it's the same starting point too. Hopefully you get that teaching. Little subtle teaching. Okay, so today we'll talk about the different aspects of the 6 parameters as an overview again. We started to get into that last week, but didn't quite have enough time to finish. And we'll talk about these, not so in so much detail, but more just to point them out to you with a little bit of detail, some examples, and we will totally, unveil, you could say, these teachings over the next period of time. A little bit at a time. The example I gave you before, maybe a few weeks ago, was when you open a door, if it's closed, the door doesn't automatically open fully straight away, does it? It opens a little bit. And so that's the same with the Dharma. The same with when we give teachings on the Dharma, we try to do this the best that we can. Of course, even all of the teachers are imperfect right now. We're human beings. And so hopefully we can get it right. And what we mean by get it right is teach the way that is best for you. So hopefully I'm picking it right. So I don't want to miss any of the details. Some of you may know all of this stuff already. In fact, I know that a few of you used to attend the classes years ago when I think it was maybe the year after or 2 years after we had the teachings on the Diamond Sutra. And we gave the teachings, or I gave the teachings on the 6 parameters then, utilizing His Holiness the Dalai Lama's commentary. That actually a friend of mine transcribed from an audio recording. She actually wrote it down in pen and paper. And to honor her energy that she put into that, to honor the merit, as she gave me photocopies of it. I think maybe 130, 140 pages. I thought maybe we should teach off that. That's the reason I chose that at the time. I chose that commentary. And so, of course, that took probably about the same time as the Diamond Sutra, and the Heart Sutra took even longer, but I think maybe 9 or 10 months it took us to go through that. Of course, we won't take that long during these Zoom classes. Okay, so here we go. This is reiterating from last week to begin. And the generosity, or just to give you once again the 6 parameters: generosity, morality, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom. So there are 18 aspects, you could say, or you could increase that to 20 aspects of these 6, the 6 perfections. Each has 3 main aspects, plus also with the generosity aspect, one of those you could actually split up into 3. Of course, we can subdivide, like I mentioned before, all of them even more so, and we will do that over the coming weeks. But if you think about it as 18, because 3 times 6 is 18, my simple mathematics is quite good. Okay, so not applied mathematics though. Maybe I leave that to some of the people that are maybe better at it than me. So anyway, generosity, there's the first one is the giving of material aid. And if I gave a little bit of detail of this last week, you give to people what they need. You give it without expectation, of course. So this is the giving of material things, such as food and the like. We spoke about it last week, so if you can maybe go back a week on Facebook when I posted it last, I think, Saturday night, then you can have a listen or have a look at that teaching again. Then there's protection from fear. So we go through life in fears, don't we? In fact, the Heart Sutra even says the Bodhisattva, even just before enlightenment, still had some fears. Or maybe, the lower level bodhisattvas for sure, if the mind still has the hindrances of some even slight belief in self and other, the two main hindrances or obscurations, then fear still is there. Maybe we fear not attaining enlightenment, and maybe we fear still being in samsara. I'm not talking about fears now like he's scared to be eaten by a tiger or something like that, but it just, I noticed on Leanne's back wall there's a picture of a tiger, so that's why I thought of a tiger. So anyway, but we still have these little fears there. But what we want to do in our practice is to help to protect beings, other living beings, especially those that are very fearful, protect them from having these fears. Okay, because these fears, if not addressed, will probably multiply, probably reinforce and multiply. Then, of course, there is the generosity of giving the Dharma, giving the Buddha's teachings, giving the truth, and also anything that is beneficial for others in their lives. I mentioned mathematics before. If you know how to count and somebody else doesn't, teach them how to count, things like that. Then, of course, there's the giving of the Dharma, or giving of material aid, I should say. We have the ordinary level. This is just the normal giving of material things. Then we have more of a great level. And this is, basically done without expectation for good results in return, or for any attachment to receiving something in return, or attachment even, you could say, for the self. Because, when we give something, there is still this attachment of the giver. And then the person receiving, the receiver, and the act of giving. There's always these three aspects that we have. We have this, the giver, the giving, and the receiver. So let's say, for instance, I have this mouse here. I want to give it to you, so I give it to you. Right? There's me, the mouse, and the giving, and then you receiving the mouse. There's always those three aspects. But if we can practice without attachment to these three, any of these three, then we are getting closer to practicing without attachment for sure, and basing our generosity on, at least in the beginning, the concept of emptiness, the emptiness of the self of the giver, the emptiness of the self of the giving, and the emptiness of the self of the receiver. Okay, so this is like really great, the giving of the material aid, like this way, but also who you're giving it to, as mentioned last week. You're giving it to great beings, or you're giving it to those that are really suffering and really in need, or you're giving to those that have been really kind to you in your life, almost like, not with attachment, but like payback. So your parents, for instance, maybe they're very kind to you. Of course, they're very kind to you in the beginning, and then you be kind to them as they get older. Things like this, that type of thing. And so, of course, the way beyond great giving is related to the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, isn't it? So that is just very briefly today, the three aspects, or you could say 5 aspects of the paramita, or perfection of generosity. And then, of course, with generosity, where our mind has less greed, less attachment to self, less self-centeredness, less attachment overall, and therefore much easier for us to be moral, to practice what we call sila in Sanskrit, or shila in Sanskrit, and sila in Pali. And of course, I just share with you the Pali and Sanskrit word for generosity is dana. Sometimes you'll see that spelled D-A-N-A, which is the one I'm more familiar with, but I've also seen it D-H-N-A-N-A as well, okay? Shila, S-H-I-L-A, or sila, S-I-L-A. I'd mention these things to you if you do your own studies on the internet, especially. Okay, so you may see different spellings of the different words depending on who's translating, obviously. So basically, the morality once again comes in three types. We can use the word for morality here, I think, to explain this: discipline. Okay, so we have a discipline, or moral conduct, ethical conduct. You can utilize all of these words. The first one is to avoid the negative. Okay, so avoid the negative actions of your body, speech, and mind. So avoid killing, avoid stealing, and avoid sensual misconduct that's related to the body. We will go into this more detail in the coming weeks, okay? I just spelled them out now. We've already done this in previous classes quite a while ago as well, to do with a different subject, the Eightfold Path. Then with our speech, avoid lying, avoid divisive speech or slandering, avoid using harsh and abusive language, and avoid gossip. Then there are three related to your mind. Avoid covetousness or desirous thoughts, avoid ill will, and avoid wrong views. They are known as the 10 non-virtues, to be totally eradicated eventually. But this is what we need to practice, to avoid engaging in these 10. Once again, I'll remind you, we're not perfect. And if you do engage in any of these 10, recognize it, and then from that point, work to abandon this type of behavior or this type of thoughts. Okay, so then purify them to begin with, have positive regret, resolve not to engage in them again as much as possible. Then, of course, the second type of discipline or morality is to engage in the wholesome, engage in the positive. And these are known, they're the opposites of the 10 non-virtues, and they're called the 10 virtues, okay? And so obviously to respect all of life, protect, nurture, save if we can even, to be generous and giving rather than to take what's not freely given by others, to be giving yourself. And when you engage in sensual activity, whether this be physical or to do with mind even, when you engage in this type of activity, then to do it with care and love, to do it with respect and appreciation. Then, of course, speak the truth. Speak to unite people, not to divide them. Speak skillfully and sweetly, and speak with good meaning to create and develop understanding. Also to have a mind that is contented and open, not desiring those things others have or desiring anything whatsoever. To have a mind of goodwill and friendship and interconnectedness. And also to have a mind based on the right views, perceiving things as they really are, having good understanding of the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the law of karma, perceiving that everything conditioned is impermanent, has the nature of being unsatisfactory, and has no self to be found anywhere. Even if you base that understanding just on the fact that everything's changing, how could something be or have a permanent self if everything's changing? Okay. Then, of course, we have the next one is to benefit others. And this obviously, once again, all of these paramitas involve the practice of a relative bodhicitta. So the aspirational relative bodhicitta as well as the application bodhicitta. Application can also be known as practical. Okay, so obviously this benefiting others, we need to do this A quote that I use a lot, that I either came up with years ago, my own embellishment on someone else's quote, because none of us create anything from scratch, do we? And that is, to benefit yourself, we must benefit others. To benefit others, you must benefit yourself. Okay, so work to benefit others. This also, once again, helps us take our mind off ourself, the self-centeredness, and because who is the benefiter and who is the one benefiting? And the benefit, once again, those three aspects again, isn't it? So we must work to benefit others. Don't cause suffering for others as much as you can. That's the first level. Then, of course, to bring benefit in whatever way it is, through the giving, through being patient, through the practice, in other words, of all of the other parameters as well. So that's three aspects of morality. And then we have the three aspects of patience. The first one is being patient when being harmed, in whatever way this is. This also has, just like the aspect in generosity of giving protection from fear, which has another aspect of that, of forgiveness. Also, this aspect of patience has an aspect of forgiveness. I'm realizing how often I'm saying this word aspect. I may pick a different one next time. So anyway, it has forgiveness in it, but forgiveness is not the whole thing, of course. Being harmed. Sometimes we are harmed, it could be emotionally, it could be, in other words, mentally, it could be environmentally, it could be economically, it could be physically. Now, we be patient with this. That doesn't mean you be patient with the other person. If you're being harmed, say, physically by someone else, or even emotionally abused by someone else, that doesn't mean you put up with it. You can remove yourself from the situation. You can even, with a calm, patient mind, with good intention, actually try to correct it, the situation. Or you could get really inside yourself and learn from it. Look inside your mind and go, I actually cause an effect here, and other things too. But first of all, if you're being harmed, be patient with your mind. Look in your mind. Like I said last week, patient mind is like a big, healthy oak tree. So it's humble, be humble. Be stable, not blown off course, and also be flexible, be able to deal with these situations as they arise and pass. So we'll go into more detail of that, okay? I did get asked years ago by a student in the class when we were talking about this, it sounds like we're going to be like a doormat. People walk over us. And I said, not like that at all. In fact, it's the opposite. If somebody does bring harm to you, then you act out in anger. Who is that anger harming? Yourself. And it's probably, if you have an enemy, it's probably exactly what they want you to do. So don't do it. Calm your mind. Somebody abuses you verbally, you can practice without attachment. Don't try to fight back. In the martial arts, if somebody throws a punch or a kick at you, you get out of the way. You don't stand up there and then back. You get out of the way. Same with if somebody's coming at you verbally, just get out of the way. Then it remains with them. The couple of examples the Buddha used, I remember he was sitting under a tree apparently one time, and this farmer was working very hard and the Buddha was meditating and probably extending loving kindness, I imagine, everywhere. And this worker came over to him and said, "You're so lazy, you never do anything," and started throwing abuse at him, and Anyway, first of all, the Buddha said, you're cultivating the land, I'm cultivating my mind, something like this. But also, and in fact, I may be putting two different times together, actually, now that I think about it. But anyway, then, this person was throwing abuse at the Buddha, and then the Buddha said, you abusing me is like trying to spit on the sky. Maybe I'll reiterate that one next week, okay? Because actually, I do remember now that's actually two different teachings, two different occasions. So, but you don't have to. What happens if you try to spit on the sky? The spit comes back on your own face, And then another example the Buddha gave was, giving a gift. And I'll give you a personal example of this next week as well. But if somebody gives you a gift, let's say a bomb. You don't have to accept that bomb in that box. You say, no, thank you, and keep it. So now who does that gift? Who owns that gift? It's the person who was trying to give it away. In other words, if people are coming at you with negativity, unwholesome intentions and so forth, they can keep them. And of course, then you extend love and kindness to them and wishing that they give up these types of things, okay? And trying to help them to do so as well. We're under a minute. That went by so fast, but that's okay. Once again, I say we're not in any hurry. I did say that we would finish these 6 today, but that's life. We'll finish them next week instead and then continue onwards from there. Okay, so please enjoy yourselves, be safe, study the Dharma well, the best of your ability, then contemplate it and then put it into your practice, everyday life through your formal meditation as well as when you're out there, in the public, if you are out there in the public, okay? So please take care. And as I say often, I rejoice in your merits, your goodness,